chosen ones, empaths. Some of you may disagree with me on this video, but in my personal experience dealing with narcissists, I've found them to be some of the most boring creatures possible. You see, and I feel they've got a good balance, not a good balance, but they have a balance of fear they project at us and their boring nature. Now, I believe that they mirror us to such a degree, we believe that they're into the same things we're into. We feel like we have this connection when it's just based off mirroring, really. And it's because they're so boring and they have no uniqueness about themselves. They have no individuality. They use this means of mirroring to inflate their self-image as such, right? But they often, I've been in situations, you know, with narcissists, and ultimately they're a bunch of bullies. They have you living in fear. Fear of getting harmed, fear of being assaulted, fear of being cheated on, all sorts of types of fear they have you living under. And when I recall my days being around narcissists, they were some of my bleakest, most darkest moments, you know, and they knew it. They knew that I'm suffering. And they believe in their own minds that the reason why the relationship is going on is because they've got us dangling like a puppet, you know, where they're pulling all the strings and they've got us living in fear. Because they rely on fear to make the relationship continue on. Without fear being involved, fear of repercussions, fear of what they might do, the relationship wouldn't last. And fundamentally, it's because they're so boring that they rely on this toxic trait of bullying to keep the relationship afloat, to keep you bound. It keeps you bound. You know, I remember I was involved with a narcissist, and honestly, it was some of the most bleakest, darkest times. Mundane. I used to feel like how could I escape? I used to feel like, how could I escape? And the thing is, I was getting pulled in the direction of two narcissists. One narcissist friend and my narcissist ex. You know, both fighting for the attention of me. Both of them fighting for the attention of me. And I kind of thought my ex-narcissist was a place of refuge, was a place of safety. I didn't realize I was going from one narcissist to another narcissist. I didn't realize that at all. But you've got to understand that they inflict fear in you. Different kinds, you know. Different kinds of fear. Some might be the backlash that you might receive if you step a foot out of line, if you do something wrong. Ultimately, they're big bullies. They're big bullies. That's what they are. And I was bullied quite badly when I think back, and trapped in this situation with a toxic friend, a narcissist friend, that basically all of my close friends left me to it. You know, I had about 30 friends around at the time, and they all left me alone, me and the narcissist. And I managed to get into college and work, where I was working and doing college 7 days a week. So I didn't have a day off as such. So that was kind of my escape to get out of and away from the narcissist. I didn't realize it was a narcissist at the time. I just knew it was unhealthy. I used to feel very trapped. I used to feel like I couldn't escape. I used to feel like there's no way out, you know. And the narcissist friend had a problem with me seeing my narcissistic ex. So I used to get in all sorts of drama with the narcissist friend just by me going to see my companion or my soulmate or my other half, which I thought it was. Didn't know it was a narcissist yet. You know, arguments over me just going to see someone who I thought I loved, you know. And it was so possessive. They're so possessive. It's like they almost own you. And we do step on eggshells. We're constantly trying to appease them. But what I think they do this all for is to cover up the flaw of they are in fact some of the most boring creatures known to man. They are so boring. This is why, you know, like in events where I've gone to events or holidays with this narcissist friend, when I went with a good friend of mine, time of my life, beautiful holiday, wonderful. Add the narcissist into the mix, makes it miserable, makes it boring, leeching off your money, leeching off you entirely. And like, it was all based on fear, you know? The whole relationship was based on fear. And I feel like they try to hold you in that position of making you scared, of making you think what their reaction might be, of making you think what repercussions are going to come if you step out of line. You know, I want you to don't fear them. Don't fear them. I know it's easier said than done if you're in the mix of it. But honestly speaking, we're born in this world alone and we die alone. And these people latch onto us and bind themselves to us so we feel there's no escape. But I believe fundamentally they do all of this bullying to cover up for their flaws. They mirror us and pretend to be what we're into, and pretend to like the things that we like, and pretend to be going in a direction where we're going, to make themselves seem interesting, when in reality they've actually got no interest in our interests. They're basically copying us because they like that about us. They like our individuality, and they almost steal it. They almost steal our individuality from us. They take over things, you know, a place that you used to like to go, or a thing that you used to like to do, or a thing that you was involved in. They will take it over in a heartbeat. They'll take it over, make it all about them, and then you find yourself on the outside of the thing that you once owned, you know. They honestly, this is 100%, you lot may disagree, but I believe they make you live in fear. They honestly make you live in fear. It's part of what comes with the narcissist. Now, it may be different types of fear. It may be fear of abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, different types of abuse, them going off with someone else, or it could be all sorts of types of abuse that you're facing, but they instill this fear in you, and you don't want that to happen. So you find yourself living everyday life with this grey, mundane, dull reality, with having them around. And I'm telling you, if you can break free from that, if you can just break free from the spell that you're under, if you can just break free from the shackles that you're held in, you understand that there is a beautiful aspect to life. And the sun does shine and the sky is blue. And you'll start to appreciate the small things. You need space from these narcissists. The only way I've come to my way of thinking was having an extended period of time away from these narcissists. If these narcissists were still involved in my life, they stunt our development. They stunt our growth. They stunt us ascending and hitting higher heights. They literally act as a fog. They keep you in the fog. Okay? And I've experienced this on several occasions from different individuals that have managed to strike fear in me where I stayed glued to them. You know, I ultimately stayed glued to them. I stayed stuck with them. And it's quite sad. I used to look at the sky and I used to think, when I looked at the sky, how can I escape this? How can I get out? And the ex-narcissist partner knew this about me, and she used this to manipulate me into finding her as a place of refuge. And I did seek refuge in her company. But then that turned into the same sort of thing. I was dealing with the ex-narcissist and the ex-narcissist mother-in-law. Her mother was a full-blown narcissist. Used to conduct complete control of our weekly existence. You know, where we never had a weekend to ourselves. She had a child from another partner, but we was constantly, never was allowed to have a weekend to ourselves. We used to have a day off during the week where the mother used to have the child, but we never had a weekend. I used to try and say stuff about this, but it was almost like they make us into their servants. They make us into serve them. They've got such low self-esteem, such low self-worth. They don't think very highly of themselves. And they like us being in servitude to them. They like us being in servitude to them. Building up their reality, building up their life. You know? And we continue to appease the narcissist because we're scared. Ultimately, we're scared. We're scared of what they might do. We're scared of the repercussions if we break up with them, or even if it's a friendship, you're scared of cutting someone off. They're abusive. They're very manipulative. They psychologically manipulate you and torment you. They physically abuse you in some cases. And you're living in this constant cycle of fear. But what I think it all comes down to, at the base of it, the root of it, the foundations of it, is because these individuals are so boring. They're so boring. They're so boring. They're so boring. They have nothing about them unique. They have nothing. They steal our life and make it their own. I've been through it. They steal what we're doing with our lives. They impose themselves in our life. They mirror us. They get us to open up. And they steal our life. They steal what we're about. They steal what we're into. They have nothing. When you look at it in reality, all they've got over you is fear. And a boring creature that they are. We don't need to be fearful of these boring creatures. They need to be fearing us. Right? They need to fear what we might do next. Because when you cut the cord with these people, it's hard. It is hard. Cutting the cord, getting out. They make it chaos. But it's something that you need to endure. You do need to endure going through this cycle of breaking the cycle as such, of breaking this reality that you live in. Because they'll find someone else, they'll go and mirror someone else, they'll find a new person that they can be around, and when they reach out to you by phone, you can entertain it for a moment if you want, or you can block them, or you can tell them don't phone me. The option's up to you. You can play it diplomatically if you want and have a 5-minute conversation and say you've got something to do and end the call. It's up to you how you play it, because we're all involved in different severities of this situation. I'm telling you, even friends can have these traits. I'm not just talking about romantic partners here. These people are so obsessed with us. It's what their literal daily life is about. And I know you may have gone through the love bomb and all of that, but it changes into about destroying you. They know you're miserable. They know you're sad. Don't show them your tears. I'm telling you, they eat them up. They love it. They love seeing you sad. You know? I've had psychopathic, narcissistic friends, whatever they are, that knew that my everyday life was dull, was bleak. And they knew the reason why I felt like this about my existence was because of them. And they didn't change their ways. They continued in the same fashion to make my daily life horrible, bleak, miserable. So that when I found a romantic partner who was a narcissist, I actually felt like that was my escape. That's how sad it is. That's how sad it is. And I'm not asking for any pity here. But that is how sad my reality was. That someone love bombing me, manipulating me, and taking me for a ride, basically, was my escape from the clutches of the narcissist that was involved in my life. And it goes back further. You know, I've gone from a cycle of 3 narcissist psychopaths, or whatever they are. And it's just, it seems to me that as soon as I leave one, there may be a little delay, but then another one comes along, and then I transfer to another one. And quite honestly speaking, I'm not ready to go into any kind of relationships, so be it friendship, romantic, business, anything like that, with anyone, until I see that the person is true and honest and loving and kind and generous and empathetic. Because these people are taking us for a ride. They're literally destroying our everyday lives. We haven't got long on this earth. We don't know how long we've got on this earth. But none of you, not any single one of you, should be living your daily life in fear. You know? Even if you're fearing being abandoned. I didn't bring that up. But even if you're fearing being abandoned, I didn't fear abandonment. If anything, I wanted them out of my life. You know? But even if you're living in fear of abandonment, or they're triangulating you with other suppliers, and they're making you feel like they're going to go one day soon, and you may not know factually that they've cheated, or you may not know, it's all up in the air. I'm telling you, when you escape them, you need to be on your own for a while. Being on your own for a while and overcoming the loneliness, because this loneliness that you crave, you're craving someone who's destroying you. You're craving someone who likes you sad, who doesn't enjoy it when you're happy, who doesn't enjoy you achieving your goals, achieving your dreams. They don't like you doing that. They are blockades on our life. And as I said, and I probably should have gone into more detail, this is all because they're boring. There is no substance to them at all. They are boring, boring creatures. They are parasites that literally leech off your energy, of your finances, of everything that you offer in the world. They leech off it. And they don't go. They don't go. You know? I remember when I used to get a little break where the person doesn't show up for a day. Oh God, they were good days. But then it was same back to it tomorrow. Very rarely they didn't show up. They always had to make an appearance. And they always want to make it all about them. They're very ill people. And they can make us very ill. You know? Going through these traumas that I've gone through in my life did in fact make me very ill at one point. You know? The trauma does affect us. And this is why I'm telling you seriously to get out before it's too late. These people will make you lose your mind. They can make you lose your sanity. They can make you resort in doing something like reactive abuse and grabbing a knife and stabbing them. This is what they can do. And they'll be the victim getting their wounds sewed up in the hospital. You'll be in court and you'll be in prison or in a psychiatric asylum. And they'll be claiming victimhood over you. I'm telling you now, this living in fear has got to go. You might not even understand that you're actually living in fear. And I probably should have said that earlier on in the video. A lot of you don't actually realize you're living in fear. You see, when I look back in retrospect, I didn't know I was living in fear. It's only because I've come out of it to the other side now that I can look back and say, okay, I was living in fear every day. I was being bullied. But when you're in it, when you're in this situation, you can't see the end of the tunnel. And I'm telling you, that end of that tunnel is not a train. It's a bright light that you need to get towards on your own. Away from them. Separate from them. These individuals have tried to wish so much destruction in my life, and I'm telling you, it don't work out well for them. All of the abuse and torment that they've put you through, they're going to go through this in this life and the next life. Whether you believe in the next life or not, I do. And I believe they will face the wrath of punishment in this life and the next life. They will experience the fear that you used to fear. They will experience being bullied, just like how you got bullied. You know the old classroom rule? The bully's always getting bullied himself, or the bully's always getting bullied herself. Right? It's true. These people that are in our lives have been bullied or are going to be bullied. And the fact is they've turned into the bully. But we don't turn into that. We still offer our heart and our kindness and our love and our care. And it gets us nowhere. Offering this love, kindness, care, empathy to a narcissist is just getting soaked up as supply. They believe they've got full control of you when they don't even reality have full control over us. We would be kind. We would be loving. That's how we are. They think in their fragile, stupid little minds that they're getting this out of you because they have you in fear. This is how boring they are. They can't see beyond the end of their nose. They don't realize that you are actually a kind person and you would offer this kindness to them regardless. Like you're doing, even though they're abusing you, you're still offering kindness. You're still making them a meal. You're still helping them out. You're still, you know, walking on eggshells. They think that's because of the abuse they're putting you through. It's not. We are kind. We are generous. We are empathetic. We are loyal. We are loving. They didn't need to do any of this acts to get us to behave in this way. They didn't need to do any of that. And that's where this is what I'm saying. After you're out of the situation, when you're free from the clutches of the narcissist, when you're on the other side of the hill, when you're on the other side of the world or wherever you go, right, to get away from them, this is when they realize what they lost. This is the only time they realize what you were. Your value is nothing when you're around them. Your value less. To get your value and to get them to actually reciprocate in their stubborn, stupid brains the value that you offered to the relationship is only by you getting away from it permanently. Not momentarily, permanently. If you let them back in, it resets. They think they got you back because they manipulated you. They think they got you back because they done this, that, or the other. You need to be out of their lives permanently, for good, forever, finito, done with, gone. They will try. They will hoover. They will reach out after months or even years. But you'll be so grown by then. And this is when they start to, they begin to fear you. If some of them heard you speak, if you separated from the narcissist for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they saw who you become, some of them don't even get the benefit of they don't even get the benefit to see who you become. But the person that you become from dealing with all of this trauma, honestly speaking, it's a beautiful thing. When I see how far I've come, and I look back in retrospect at what I was always loving, I was always kind, I was always empathetic, but it got took for granted. And now I've turned a little dark, you know? I may still entertain a conversation on the phone, I may still entertain a message, but they know there's no way back in my life. You know? I may play it diplomatically if I want to, but there's no way back in my life. There's no way back. And I don't want any of you lot living in fear because of these boring creatures. These creatures saw us. They come around us. They mirrored us because they don't have any substance of their own. They're miserable, disrespectful, horrible beings. Horrible. Don't let them steal your life. Don't let them steal your life. Separate and make your new life and make it not part of them. They can't steal that. They might have stolen what you're about from before. But trust me, things happen for a reason. You know? People have stolen my life and what my life's work was about. But I'm glad I got out of it now. I look back in retrospect and I see the reason that I got out of that way of life. I think, you know what? You stay in that way of life. I don't need that no more. I've grown. I've ascended. I'm on new things. It's about you finding your new life now. Yes, you will go through bouts of loneliness, but don't let that make you go close to them. I'd rather you go close to someone else. And you know how highly I say that you shouldn't move on quickly, but I'd rather you go with someone else than go back to them. But the problem is, if you go with someone else too quickly, it can be another narcissist. Just like in my case. You know? I went from narcissist to narcissist to narcissist. From the age of 12 all the way up till I was 24. 12 years I endured being around narcissists. Not parents, friends, associates, and romantic partners. 12 years of abuse. I didn't understand I was being abused. I thought this was what life's meant to be like. But I hope this video is refreshing for you to understand that narcissists make you live in fear because they're so boring. They don't have the wow factor to make you interested in them. They don't have that about them. So they rely on making you scared. They rely on the repercussions of what they might do. They rely on that to keep you bound. Don't be bound. You can undo those ties. You can get out the other side. It's time to go. And you know what? I made mistakes of making it too vocal. I was too vocal with these people. Telling them what I'm going to do. Telling them that I'm going to leave. Telling them that I'm going to do. They don't deserve our words. The best way to get out from them is pack your bags quietly and leave. When you do this, you cause a severe narcissistic injury. Do not fear the repercussions. Do not fear what they might do back to you. But packing your bags quietly and getting out, no conversation, and going is the best strategy, I believe, to get out away from them. If you're living with them, or if it's a friend, change your number. Just get out. Just get away from them. They don't deserve us. They ultimately don't deserve us. And we haven't got time to waste any longer. We've already wasted time. We've already wasted time. I've learned a heap load of lessons through those 12 years. Loads of lessons I've got. I've stored it in my mind. I've learnt, you know, my mind's like a treasury of good information and positive experiences, and taking things happening for a reason and learning from it. I've got all of that stored in my mind. I have learnt a lot. These have learnt zilch. These ain't learnt nothing. You know, be a fly on the wall when they're around someone else. They'll be the same old person. They'll be someone different. They're like social chameleons. They change with who they're around. They don't change. Oh, I'm like this with you. Then I'm like this with you. Then I'm like this with you. Leave them alone. You're blocking their karma. The longer you stay with them, you're blocking their karma. They're going to be abused. They're going to be disrespected. They're going to have abuse thrown at them from some form of way. They're going to have it in their life. But you staying around them is preventing this happening. You need to walk the journey alone, away from them on your own. So anyway, thank you for watching today. Please press the like and the subscribe button. If you'd like to donate to the channel, you can find the link in the description box. If you'd like a one-to-one session with myself, you can also find the link in the description box. Currently, I've got the secondary channel, the spiritual channel. So anyway, I'll be back with another video soon. Peace.